Hello. You're listening to What the Fuck Do We Know? Hey there. Welcome again to our podcast. I'm here and you're here and we are both here together. And it feels great to be here, to be present, to exist, and to be aware of one's existence. Wouldn't you say so?
Hope that wasn't prepared.
No, I just riff,
Okay, great. It is great to be here. I agree. It's great to be aware of existing in this moment.
Great is an interesting word because it's great as in I'm happier to be aware than not. However, awareness comes with, more with a baggage, of questions. So, but anyway, I'm happy to be here with you.
Same here.
How long has it been?
How long has it been?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Since we recorded? No, 2 weeks.
Oh, 1 month.
Wow. Have you missed me?
I think it's going to be 1 week for our listeners.
Don't. Okay.
Did I reveal anything?
No, I don't know.
Serious?
Yeah, but we recorded our last episode like a while ago. But the listener is going to hear it, I don't know. It depends on us. We've not been, let's be honest, we haven't been very consistent.
We have not, but
one of us fell off, It's always the other person saying, let's do this, let's sit down and get things done. And one of us is always not really ready. I'm not going to say who, but you know who.
Yeah, the same guy who has weird intros.
I think that my intros are the life of this project.
Yes, because no one listens past them.
It means that they're the only part that people come for. People come for the intros.
No, they just turn them off.
So when immediately you start talking, they're like, oh, okay.
No, it's before I start talking.
No, so when you start talking, people are like, I think we've had enough of this. It's time to move on. So they just go for the intro. But yeah, today we're going to have what I expect to be an interesting topic. Don't you think so?
I agree. I hope so.
It's very current, I suppose. We're going to be talking about something that I suppose in the society where we live now is not really relevant. Would you
mean
say
in
so?
Ukraine?
Yeah, in Ukraine.
I think it's relevant in the context of corruption.
Yes, but it's not like something that people would discuss as like in the concept of a philosophical conversation. As
I think it's just philosophy is generally not popular anywhere.
Well,
at any point of history.
I think that is just what is defined as philosophy is not popular. However, the concepts that are in philosophy are things that people discuss every day in their everyday life. But there is an elitism that comes with the name philosophy. So, people discuss.
Okay, like equality. Let's say equality is something that people discuss.
People always discuss in different contexts. In economy and in different things. But when you then make it something bigger, then people call it philosophy. But it's an everyday conversation.
Okay, I agree. But yeah. Did you say that it is popular right now? Is it a relevant topic?
Not so relevant here. But it's specifically in the way we're going to talk about it, I think.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I don't think so, yeah.
Okay, anyway. A new boogeyman, the new woke or the new CRT in the US is DEI. And so we kind of, we're going to talk about that. I don't know that I think here we don't necessarily see eye to eye. Because I believe I'm coming from a realistic point of view and you're coming from an ideological point of view.
Wow.
Because I believe that we've talked about this a bit, haven't we?
We've had a couple of conversations.
Yeah.
And I think we will disagree on something. I think we decided to discuss this topic because we wanted to choose a topic where we actually disagree.
I think that most of our topics we disagree.
No, but we disagree on very minor things.
Well, it's
usually about terminology and semantics.
I think that
because you're ridiculous. Oh yeah, you like to read.
Is that a personal attack? I'm sorry, several weeks ago, we had a whole argument on what a personal attack
That was a joke.
And now you've just attacked me personally. And I'm not supposed to respond.
As a joke.
A joke to whom? A joke is a joke to the person who perceives it to be a joke.
You're smiling, so.
Because I'm a polite person. Doesn't mean that I'm not offended. I would like an apology.
I apologize for your sensitivity.
Cunt. Okay, back to where we were. Where were we?
Right. So I think here we will actually disagree more. I hope we will not only disagree on terminology, but
I hope we will fight.
I hope we will not.
Fight?
Yes.
Because I'll beat you up.
I mean, when a smaller guy fights a bigger guy, when a smaller guy fights a bigger guy, you know what they have to do?
What?
You have to hit unexpectedly, and you really have to hit. So if you hit, you don't just hit once, you hit enough times to be sure that the person will not get up at all. So it's if I actually attack you, I will have to go all in,
As if you have the energy to go all in.
I will have, if I need to.
Okay. But no, I do hope that we have more than a semantic disagreement here. But I hope that we can disagree and still remain cordial. Can you do that?
We'll see.
Can you do that? Can you disagree with me without calling me an asshole?
I never called you an asshole.
You have.
Mm-mm.
You have. Not during a disagreement. Not during disagreement, but you have called me an asshole.
Maybe I called you an ass and hole, but not an asshole.
Idiot. Okay. We're going to talk about meritocracy.
Yeah, I think this is what we should start with.
What?
Meritocracy, then, not DI.
Oh, I thought you meant we should have just said this part in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. This was an
No, but I just wanted to say why we decided to talk about meritocracy because of those, the popularity of this, term, DEI, in the US. And I think it's, seeping into other societies, even where it's not really a thing, yet. But, yeah, let's start with meritocracy. And we're going to start from the very beginning. Yay? What's that? Our audience?
No. That's me. I thought you were leading to a definition. So
Yes, that's the first thing. So
definition.
What is the definition of a meritocracy?
I think this is actually where we disagree.
Oh, interesting. I don't usually disagree on definitions.
I think meritocracy is a social structure, not social, a way to structure society where you distribute resources or power or influence based on merit, whatever it is.
Oh,
exactly. I mean, but let's start here.
Based on merit. Okay, I agree with the definition of meritocracy.
No. This is just the beginning.
Okay.
You have to start with something that you agree on.
Okay.
And then what is merit? Merit is many things, intelligence, skills. But I think it's also important to say what it is not and what it is usually contrasted to.
Okay, let's start with what is merit. How do we define merit? And do we define merit in a general context or do we have to separate merit? So does merit need context?
Well, merit is context based. If you have a job, obviously each job needs different skills. So yes, it is context based.
So what is merit?
Oh, merit, it's hard to give a specific definition. Let's say what it's not first.
Okay, what is not?
It is usually contrasted to, for instance, birthright, wealth, to a social structure of distribution, influence based on wealth, based on birthright, based on your connections. I don't know. I guess these are kind of the most common ones. And instead, should be based on intelligence, based on skills, based on virtues, maybe.
Virtues?
I'm not sure about virtues. I think it's mostly skills and intelligence.
Based on skills and intelligence. Skills, I can agree, but based on intelligence, do we consider intelligence to be a natural phenomenon?
I don't think it's relevant for this. For the purposes of my definition, it's relevant. Do I think that intelligence is natural? I think it's partially natural for sure. Partially cultural.
If we're going to define merit, are we going to also include what is considered a natural, a natural predisposition that people have?
So this is, I think, where we disagree, because for me, meritocracy implies equality of opportunity at the moment.
Okay.
So, and it does not assume equity. It does not assume, first of all, potential, unrealized potential. So if we say that there are two people, let's say, and let's say that, I don't know, how do I put it? If there are two people and we know that they could have been at the same level had the one person been invested more resources in, but right now they're not, and it's impossible to change that, then it's like kind of unrealized potential, it's sunk costs, and it's not.
But then we cannot have a conversation about equality of opportunity. This is where we disagree.
Equality, yes, exactly.
So we cannot have a conversation. Well, I don't want us to jump ahead. Okay. So let's stay with just what is merit, what counts as, how do you call it? Meritorious, I suppose. That's the word. I should know.
I know, I Googled it as well, but it's been a week.
I haven't Googled it, but I suppose it's meritorious.
Probably.
Okay. But when I asked about like merit in context, I wanted to ask just like, I don't think this is what we wanted to talk about fully, but just something I wanted us to broach a little bit, because we have people in society who like, and this is kind of like considering maybe merit, maybe in a moral context, when we have people in society that we have elevated to higher positions, and we have done so because of some like actions that they have done that we consider meritorious. For example, Einstein is so to speak, if we want a hero in our society because of his, activities in the scientific sphere. I want us to just this short part just to go like, and in the modern day when we have what we call cancel culture, right? If you consider it with what has been considered merit in the past, is it possible to continue to assign merit to a character regardless of other things that they have done? So if it comes out that Einstein was like a raging, serial killer, murderer and stuff, as a person, does he retain the merit that he acquired from being a scientist?
Oh, this is actually what I want to discuss in the next episode.
Really?
Oh yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, that was one of the points I would make. But like, I would say that yes, he has merit, but within his specific field.
But like as a society, is it like, do you think that, I'm asking your perception of our society, do you think it's acceptable to continue to, give merit where it's due, even if the person is kind of hated? For example,
yes.
You think it's acceptable in our society?
It's acceptable for me personally. Okay. I think for me, that's for sure. For our society, I don't have maybe a very strong opinion here, but just logically, if a person has done something for science, just them being a dick or even committing a
just
very
look at Hitler. Hitler was
strong crime.
If Hitler actually turned out to be like a great artist.
Yeah, but it doesn't cancel out. Well, artist is quite still. It doesn't cancel out whatever the contributions.
But you run the risk of normalizing this person.
Sure,
in a
but
society
that's the reality.
When we do this cancel culture or whatever punishment, it's to try to denormalize a behavior, right? In our society, something that we don't want.
So exactly, focus on the behavior, not on the person.
I mean, but the person is a package, like, right? It's like a complete package. We don't do that as a society. So we run the risk.
But we should.
But because we run the risk of normalizing the person, because if you allow this person to occupy some space in society and of merit, then you run the risk of people going like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad after all.
Well, I agree that that's what happens in real society, in reality. But like in my head, I try to separate as much as possible, compartmentalize, and I would prefer everyone to do it. But is it realistic? Not really. But to some extent, we can work on it as a society.
I find myself choosing. I choose. I know that I'm not very consistent.
What do you mean you choose?
I'm not consistent in the way that I treat people who I consider are, not right for our society. So, I mean, I just think of what action they have done. And for me, if it's valuable enough to ignore the heinous whatever that they've done, I accept that, okay, yeah, I can separate this. However, I mean, if to me personally, their actions are not that influential to cause me to separate it, I'll just
No, for me, I just totally separate it.
It's a choice because there's some things I want to enjoy,
And I will enjoy no matter how insignificant they are. If I think they are good enough within this particular field, I want to listen to them. I want to consume whatever they produce.
No, I think it's impossible. I always use Michael Jackson and R. Kelly for me. I've made this example many times. With Michael Jackson, I do believe to some extent that he might have been a child predator. I think that there's a lot of like reasons to believe this. However, I enjoy his music too much, and it was just such a huge part of my life that I refuse to.
So do you agree it's double standards?
I agree. I know that's what I'm saying. It's a double standard I've created. But R. Kelly, I remember after the whole thing really broke loose, I listened to a song of his and I was just disgusted. I remember the feeling. I was walking and I was listening to a song that I really enjoy, and all I felt was just disgust and just I hated the person I was listening to. And I've not listened to a song of R. Kelly in what, 4 or 5 years maybe.
But when you feel disgust and if you can't really overcome it, I don't think you should force yourself.
I'm not forcing myself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should force yourself to overcome it.
To overcome it, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think that it's not, for me, it's not reasonable. So as a person, I don't want to be that kind of person who has this unreasonable things that they do. So because it's not I think that I should be able to separate it. And I know that I am able to separate it. However, there are these cases when I have these really unreasonable actions and I don't.
I'm the reasonable one here.
Jesus Christ.
That's the takeaway. Where were we before?
Let's go back to meritocracy. Let's go to equality of opportunity. Our main disagreement with meritocracy is like, you think that it can exist in the world that we have here now because of your unrealized potential thing. I just think that meritocracy...
No, I didn't say it can exist. That's just my definition of meritocracy.
Well, I think that our main argument was that I feel that meritocracy shouldn't be brought up in a society where equality of opportunity does not exist and, in my opinion, cannot exist entirely.
Define equality of opportunity.
Well, everybody having the same opportunity.
Starting from what?
That is the question.
Based on genetics?
No. Based on genetics, we cannot control that. But we're not talking about like what we can control. Based on what we can control, we have a society, like this conversation comes up a lot with communities like gender and race, etc., right? We have a society that for a long time was very misogynistic, right? And there were a lot of more opportunities given to men. There were less opportunities given to women. And it's not just like in just the opportunities in the education of the society. So for example, we have a lot of women who still believe that women have just naturally assume a lower position in the society. So it's not, and they can go to school. We have opened the schools for women. However, a lot of women don't go to some courses or don't try some things because they believe it's not for them. So we also had a society that trained and educated people to believe in this lower class of women. That education just removes the equality of opportunity, however you might see it, because at the end of the day, we still have people working in places like in schools where women will, or jobs where women will have to apply for.
No, I agree that with everything like you said, except for I just wouldn't call it equality of opportunity.
What would you call it?
Because again, I agree that there is no like ultimate fairness. And like you talked about gender, race and other stuff, but we can also talk about it on the individual level.
Sure.
Right. Everyone's experience is different. Even like if you're twins, you're raised in the same family. Even if you're, how do you call it? Twins with the same DNA. What's the name for it?
Fraternal or what? Not fraternal?
Fraternal, I guess.
Not
with this 100% DNA, sharing the same DNA.
Well then.
Anyway, from the same sperm. No, from the same egg.
What is the point?
No, but the point is that they share 100% DNA and they're raised in the same family. Their experience is still very different.
But this is not equality of opportunity.
No, that's my definition of equality of opportunity, because otherwise it doesn't make sense.
No, equality of opportunity is fair access.
Because it doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist. So equality of opportunity is fair access to things, and we're talking not on it's fair access. We're not talking about a natural advantage that people have. We're talking about eliminating a social advantage when we talk about equality of opportunity.
And I limit it to what we have right here, right now. That's why I said equality of opportunity, for me, it's at the moment. It's not about the past. It's not about compensating.
No, but that is very short-sighted, isn't it? Because you cannot just... that's not how our lives work.
I'm not saying that's how it works. I'm just saying this is the definition, and we can have a different definition for everything that happened before.
That is the equality of... I agree with you that is the definition. However, it just doesn't function in our society because that's not how life is. We cannot just negate the past experience when we're considering the present. It's just impossible.
I mean, we can do that, but it still exists.
In definition, yes, it exists. The concept exists, but the reality does not. It's not a realistic way of actually distribution of resources.
According to the definition, the equality of opportunity at the moment, it's not realistic to...
It is not, because you cannot consider it at the moment. You cannot consider... You have to consider who
You should not, or you cannot.
You cannot. Because you have to consider who is standing in front of you. Let's have...
You should
Let's
not.
have a practical example. No. Let's have... In the definition, you should not. But it's impossible to make it realistic. Let's have a practical example to show what you're saying. Go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yes, you.
I mean, a practical example of what I consider meritocracy.
Yeah, equality of opportunity. Yeah.
At the moment, you have, I don't know, you need to make a test in order to apply for a university.
Okay.
It's a blind test. You just answer questions, get a score. You either get in or get out.
So they have standardized tests.
Standardized testing, exactly.
Okay, right. You think this is... I would agree.
This is meritocracy.
It would be meritocracy. However, we cannot not consider who is setting the test questions. We cannot not consider the different demographics that are writing the test, the different communities, the access to educational level that each of these communities of schools have, the access, the funding that they all have in order to be able to learn enough to have this, to write this test. It's just impossible to not consider it. Because if you want everybody to have this test, if you want equality of opportunity, and this, it's a merit-based thing, 100%. However, people are not learning the same thing. People do not. I went to school, and people in the same country went to school. I went to different private school. People went to different private schools. The level of education we got was different in the same class.
That's why I call it equity. That's when you have in the past, but equality for opportunity. This is, we are taking here whatever everyone's skills are right here, right now. We test you and say who has the most merit.
But we are choosing who has the most merit when all of them have not had... I understand you. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that we're choosing who has the most merit when we're not considering social advantage. When we're not considering social advantage, because who has? So it's not how.
This is what I call meritocracy by definition.
Okay, but it's just not realistic. Argue. That's my argument here.
What do you mean? It's not realistic to have a test?
No, it's realistic to have a test, but it's not realistic to just choose the people who do best in the test only, because you still have to consider what the real world looks like in terms of access to the knowledge for the test.
You say it's not realistic. I'm saying it's realistic to do it, but you can argue that we should not do it.
No, that's what I mean by it's unrealistic, because it's not...
What do you mean unrealistic?
It's not considering reality.
Oh,
if you do it, it's not considering reality.
So for me, you should not do it. And I think it's fair to argue that meritocracy is not just like, it's not a synonym to a good system. It's like, some people think that democracy is just like, oh, this is good. A good political system, synonym democracy. It doesn't mean democracy is not that. Democracy is a political system that has certain properties, like people electing, participation, freedoms, etc. But it doesn't mean that the product of democracy will be good. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have any flaws. Here, again, meritocracy for me, I'm not arguing so far that we should build our society around it. We could build our society around DEI, but I just want to separate meritocracy from equity. And for me, what you're describing, I would call it equity.
Yeah, it's not a meritocracy. What I'm describing is not a meritocracy.
I thought we were still on the definition of merit and meritocracy. That's what I thought we were. Okay, so do you agree with my definition of meritocracy as equality of opportunity? Great. Then okay, DEI, so the way I see it, would you agree that if DEI policies, they put on top of meritocracy, they put a different set of values, like diversity and inclusion?
Why do you say on top of meritocracy? If you say on top of meritocracy, then you are working on the basis that meritocracy exists in our society. Meritocracy
as a system, it's not pure, but it can exist, as in we can have a test, an equality opportunity in the moment. It's not going to be perfect because there will always be people judging, but
moments of merit-based activities, but we don't have a structure that is particularly meritocratic.
What do you mean by a structure?
No, because meritocracy is not just an action. It's not just one moment. It's not just in this moment. It's not just the testing, but meritocracy, the point is to create a structure that awards people who deserve, well, maybe not, desert is a different thing, maybe, who merit this award.
Deserve is fine.
No, I think that there's a little difference between
yes, I agree. At any point.
Yes. So you are just you're picking out one just single moment in the whole meritocratic structure.
Okay.
And what is the point of doing that?
Because the entire system consists of those points, right?
So why do you add DEI to just one point?
So look, because if our system is fully meritocratic, so at any point we follow meritocratic principles.
If,
then we don't need DEI. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yes.
If we had that.
But now...
But not just if... Okay, if we had equality of opportunity.
At any point...
Yes.
From the childhood to
if
adulthood.
It was possible, yes.
But now what we do, we don't have that.
No, we don't.
And we decide that at this point, there's been some prior inequalities that we want to account to at this point, at the point of getting a job or getting into the university. And we put additional, a higher value DI on top of meritocracy.
Okay.
To compensate for those prior inequalities. So I think that we just need to we just need to acknowledge it. That there is DI is on top of meritocracy. Whenever like DI policies, they do violate meritocratic principles.
Don't though, because DI policies are not awarding spaces to people who don't merit these spaces.
No, look, what you do, let's take quotas for instance.
Yes, what do you do with a quota? Go ahead.
So you have full meritocratic system. Well, like at this one, we'll take 1 point because we need to have an example. So you have a test, right? And top 10 students get in. Then you have you decide that we have underrepresentation of certain people. We separate and set some kind of minimum percentage or number of people that we want to have. Assign them this quota. And then within that quota, we already have some meritocratic principles applied. So first you assign certain quota, so DI at the top, and then within that group you apply meritocratic principles. So first DI, then meritocratic.
Why is it a violation of meritocracy? Because you are applying meritocratic principles to this DI value.
No,
I don't know. I don't see how that is a violation of meritocracy.
Violation because full meritocracy is when the first example, when everyone is in the same...
It is meritocracy, but then you create a space to cancel out the inequality of before, and you create another value, and then you apply this value to meritocracy. I'm not sure why it's a violation.
They work together, but DI works first.
No, DI takes a priority in terms of the values, but it's not a violation of the meritocracy because even in that DEI bracket, the people in that quota are people that merit these positions.
But first they have to pass the first
every principle, everything that we do, we prioritize values. And in this case, yes, DI supersedes meritocracy. Also, it's literally, well, we'll talk about the real presentation of it later.
I don't see it as a violation. It violates because according to meritocracy, the most skilled person should get the position. But here you say the most skilled person with this color of skin or with this gender should get the position.
Within this gender, yes, because we still have, because we're not taking away from most skilled people anyway. We have a quota does not totally cancel out every other person. A quota makes space for some people, some extra people. And so it's just saying there's the top people and the top people in this bracket.
And you don't see how it violates meritocratic
I don't see it as a violation of meritocratic principle. Except every time that we have a priority of values, every value that is ahead of the other one violates the lower value. Is that what you're saying? Because in our life, no, in general, we do have value priority, don't we? Don't we prioritize values in our lives in general, in every sector?
I'm not sure what you mean, because meritocracy for me it's also based on values.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That so when we make decisions, we have values. We have a lot of values.
Okay, I agree.
And then we prioritize them.
I agree.
So is the superior value that in this our priority list always violating the lesser values?
Sometimes,
So not always.
not always.
So why
but in this
can't
case
I
they
say
do.
that in this case I don't see it?
And I disagree.
Okay. But in this case I don't see it. I see it as I see it as working hand in
But-
hand. I don't see it as because
Because
the only way
results
to
are different.
violate it is if you are going out of your way. It's not a thing with it's not if the DEI bracket was not also a bracket that merits this position.
The thing is that the result is different based on these two different approaches, right?
What is the difference?
I mean, the difference usually, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know how to answer this question, but the first option, when you have meritocratic principle, when everyone is in the same bin,
Okay.
there will be one result. If you
Mhm.
apply DEI, most likely, sometimes you will have the same result, but
Mhm.
most likely the result will be different because
Okay, but the result that is different is not lacking merit. So I don't see it as a violation. I don't disagree with you that you will create space for more people, most likely, or different people. I don't disagree with you, but what I disagree with you is that it's violating merit because it is working hand in hand with merit. I don't see how it violates the
well, it
meritocracy.
supersedes.
It supersedes merit, but
merit.
that does not, in that case, make a violation.
Okay, let's agree to disagree for now.
No.
No.
I'm right. But let's talk about equality of opportunity as a concept. I don't know why people discuss it in our society.
What do you mean?
Discussing it as a concept is fine, but discuss it in a way that they want it to be the reality. It's just impossible.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't
No, we should discuss it as a
get
philosophical
closer
concept.
to it.
Yes, but how can we make it get closer if we don't have policies that push the people who are not on the same position to the same level? How?
What do you mean? How
I'm
it's
leading
possible
us to
for it to
our
happen?
affirmative action. Yes.
Yes.
That's what we have, affirmative action. We've talked about affirmative action before and you
Okay.
disagreed with it. Even actually in one of our episodes of this podcast, we've talked about affirmative action. You disagreed with it. If we want to try to get to equality of opportunity, how can we achieve that without things like affirmative action, without things like quotas, without things like welfare systems, universal healthcare, etc., etc.? How can we achieve it without those things?
Well, first of all, culture can change and people can stop being.
Culture does not change that fast, though. And also culture,
yeah, but it changes.
but also it also leaks into the next thing. People would say 20 years ago that race culture had changed. Don't you think most people would say that after
I'm not sure 20, but
no,
yeah,
20
I know the
years ago,
argument.
yes, people would say there's not, for example, racism anymore. As a human being, I've experienced racism too many times.
No, I don't think they would say there is no racism. I think most people would say that there is less racism.
No. People would say there is no racism. When the popularization of the phrase "I don't see color" led people to believe there is no racism. Also because people think of racism as actual attacking of black people rather than what was also just segregation. People don't see racism as segregation. People don't see racism as an internal bias that leads you to not allow someone to do something because of their race. People think of it as only just this, external act they only see the external acts of racism and they don't look into themselves and see the internal bias. So many people have said that. However, I don't think that culture changes as much as people suppose it does. It really doesn't, because right now I would say that a lot of people, with regards to race relations, the culture has not changed that much, honestly. It has changed. It has gotten better.
Years?
Over 60, 70 years of when the US started this civil rights stuff. It hasn't changed that much. There is still people who are grandparents. This is the problem. Your grandparents train your children a lot. And in the sense of race, because now we have people who work. And so your children spend a lot of time with grandparents. They learn from grandparents. You also learn from your parents. That thing continues. Especially now we have such like people living in bubbles and communities living there. So I don't think that culture is a strong enough tool to fix equality, the inequality that in opportunity.
I don't have a strong opinion about what is happening in the United States, but I have a weak opinion that things have changed quite significantly over 60 years. That was like segregation, right? I think no, look, it's one thing, there's a big change that the bank cannot deny you to rent a property because of your race, for example, or a woman cannot not open a Shout out to
bank.
Trump.
a woman cannot not open a bank account because she is cannot open a bank account because she's a woman. She doesn't have a husband, which is something that changed in the 70s in the U.S.
Oh, really? I didn't know about it.
However, if you go to buy a house and the cost is different between a white person and a black person, that is not necessarily a change. Because what you're feeling is that you're still feeling this effects of this segregation. However, it's just not institutionalized. So I will still not be able to get a house. I will not be able to get an apartment for the same price, but it's just not according to law.
But is there a difference between
what is the difference from my experience exactly?
Experience that there is a difference between not being able to buy a house and that's it, or being able to buy a house for 10+%.
No, this is the thing, is that at the end of the day, you're still made to live in this like ghettoized neighborhoods or like forced communities because that's where you can afford a house. So you're not actually integrating in your society because you cannot afford to live there. Because even if the bank says you can, or the government says you can, people still own houses and they'll just not sell to you. So what's the difference?
Have American cities become more mixed and diverse?
They have become more mixed and diverse.
So there's been some progress.
But the thing is that when you say there's been some progress, it's good to acknowledge there's been some progress, but you don't mute or silence the lack of progress that also exists there.
I agree. We should acknowledge both sides, both things.
No, but when someone says, but this is the thing, so when someone narrates or says something about their experience, especially women or black people say something about their experience, that's not the time to say, but there's been some progress. Is it?
Immediately after, it's not appropriate. But I also think it's inappropriate to just bluntly deny that there's been any progress.
People don't bluntly deny that there's been any progress.
Some people do.
They just tell you that the progress that has been hasn't changed that much for a lot of people's experiences. Because what you think of your society as, there's, for example, not to get personal, I've told you in the past about some of the experiences I had, and you didn't believe me just because you didn't think that it was possible in your society. Do you see that?
Okay.
That's the problem. But these are real experiences that I had. And you just decided that, well, no, there's been enough progress that this is not possible.
Well, not enough. I didn't think about progress at that time at all.
You just chose not to believe me.
I would actually say that in terms of where we live, I'm not sure there's been any progress over the last 50 years or 60 years.
But you still didn't believe.
Oh, because I hadn't had any experience with it. I hadn't had any exposure.
That is my point.
To it.
A lot of people, when they say there has been a lot of progress, they haven't had any exposure to what it is like living on the other side.
I think it's different in the United States because there are many more people of all races there. So you have more opportunity to experience it. Even if not personally, you can still see it around more than in Ukraine. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. However, it still exists. And the answer to someone telling you it exists doesn't mean it's not, well, it is better. And that's why just culture cannot change the situation with opportunity. You actually have to have policy that forces a difference. And that's where DEI comes in place.
So when you say DEI, what do you usually think of? Like DEI policies, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the way it was implemented in most organizations was, and this is where I think there can be criticism of these policies, of these DEI policies, is a lot of organizations created groups, departments, to research or to come up with ideas of how they can invest or in their diversity and inclusivity programs. And they had all these departments that were spending a lot of time researching and stuff. And this can be arguably a waste of money because you have to kind of see how this department is doing their work, what resources are they using and what are they doing. However, these departments could be useful because they should have outreach programs. They should have programs that kind of try to go into communities or try to actually search and invite people from other communities to apply for jobs, for example. They should have people that observe interviews, for example, that observe the process of, the application process, and try to see if there is any consistent refusal of people of a specific group, and see if this is what these committees could do. They could actually research and see if this company has over time consistently refused people who
Hired
fit
by
in.
whom? By the company or government?
No, in government, it's government. In private companies, not by force. If they
Oh,
want
okay.
to, they can do it or not. But however,
So it's like an audit.
yes,
DI
yes,
audit.
at first, because first of all, you have to recognize if there is a problem with hiring in this place. Because if there is no problem, then it's a waste of money to just put because you're trying to be performative. First of all, you have to recognize if there is a problem here. So there should be an audit. Look through the application process. And if there is a problem, then you can discuss policies in your company or in the government. With the government, it's easy. Outreach, reach out to communities that are less training programs that train people to become federal employees, train people in different communities. Go out to people and talk to them about federal work and see how people in other underprivileged communities or underrepresented communities can actually be part of the work. Make spaces that make these people also feel safe when it comes to women, for example, in federal employment. Change maternity care for women because women should want to work in federal employment, and maternity is a big problem for people like that. Look at health policies. Look at how things you can do that will bring people or attract more people to this kind of job. Because it's not always because people don't want to hire them. Sometimes these jobs are just not attractive to this particular group because it's not conducive for them. That's what DEI can do.
Would you agree that there are better and worse DEI policies?
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not against the checking of it, even.
Because for me, but what the criteria for me would be is that there are like outreach. I agree. This is actually one of the best DI policies that I support, like weekly support, because I'm not that much into, like in Ukraine, for instance, it's not like that relevant. I would say there are not that many minorities.
No, that's another thing is that people think that when they say DEI, it's just what's a minority? People think of social groups, Black people, women, trans, LGBT.
Okay.
But no, DEI also reached out to veterans, people with disabilities. These are included in DEI in DEI policies. It's not just women and Black people
Sure, but
and racial
veterans
minorities.
are still minorities.
Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
I
But
agree.
no, I'm saying that when people think about it, they just think of this like
Okay, veterans is actually a good point for Ukraine right now.
disabilities. Yes, veterans is important
Yeah.
for this country.
Right. So I think their outreach is good. I think the earlier, first of all, earlier the intervention is, and I'm not against DEI. I think I want to separate meritocracy from DEI, but I think it's ultimately it's about values. It's what you value more. I think both meritocracy and DEI we can talk about them in terms of instrumental values, but also I think it's quite close for most people to intrinsic values. And you ruined it
How?
with your eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But where was I?
Meritocracy and DEI.
Right. So they're
Intrinsic
better,
value.
and so the earlier you start, I think DEI,
No shit.
the better it is.
No shit.
There is a risk, because I do think that there is a risk of there are some problems with it. There is a risk of confrontation. I think, especially like with quotas, like late stage quotas, I think that could cause some kind of conflict, division within the society.
Within the society that isn't marginalized. It's within the society. It's
The entire society.
No. It's the non-marginalized society against the marginalized society. That's the conflict, isn't it?
Well, yeah, sure.
Mhm. This is not a conflict I care to prevent.
Well, it is because they have more
Because
power.
no, I believe there must be disruption in order to have some change.
Sure, but if the majority gets pissed too much, that's not going to be good for anyone.
No, it's a bad representation of that society.
Sure, I agree, but no,
Well, I think it can be a lesson, a teaching moment.
yeah, but they can vote you out, and
It happened.
the minority will lose, and it's not going to help the
It's
minority.
happening now, but what's happening is that people are... No, I want you to finish what you were saying.
No, there are better and worse policies. I think outreach is one of the good ones.
Mhm.
I'm like with quotas, I think I'm leaning towards saying that, for instance, quotas for high school, I'm not against it. I think this is fine. University, I think this is where I'm leaning to say that's probably no.
Okay, let's talk about quotas, for a second. We might have to make this a two-parter.
A two-parter?
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe not. But let's talk about quotas for a second. Why in university is it a no? You say in high school, maybe yes, because you believe that there are some schools that are better, right?
It's just
that provide better education.
Yeah.
And you think it might be okay to allow that have better resources. Are you disagreeing with me?
No, I don't disagree.
Okay. Even public schools in different regions have better resources than others. Don't you agree?
I agree. I mean, there are better teachers as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me why you could agree with quotas in high school.
Well, it's not about resources. It's about...
Tell me then. That's why I asked the question.
No, because the earlier you start, the better it is, the less division there is.
Okay, but so it's just about timing?
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I don't see the difference in the university and in the high school.
Because if you don't get, an extreme example, if you don't get a job while being more qualified than another person, just based on your color of skin, that is bad, I think.
And if you don't get into university based on your color of skin, it's not?
And again, it's a continuum. So I think the earlier you start, the better. And somewhere you have to draw a line. Job, for sure, the line is not there. For me, the line is university. School, I'm fine with schools.
It doesn't make sense to me, though. Because it would be, why would you want to have quotas in school? Just explain to me why.
I would be fine with that.
No. Why? Or why would it happen at all? It's not about why would it happen? Why would anybody make quotas in school, in high school?
I think we agree on the reasons here because kids have different backgrounds.
Okay. And
people have, in
university, people don't have different backgrounds?
All people have different backgrounds.
Okay, so
at the point, are you okay with quotas for jobs?
I am. In federal government jobs, yes. Of course.
Private business, private universities.
I don't think that government should have any hand in private universities. Okay. I don't think that government should have any hand in private institutions in general.
Private universities either.
Yes, you know that about me. However, when it comes to federal and public spaces, I think that I'm fine with quotas. The reason I'm not fine with quotas in private institutions is because I don't think government should be doing that. Because you just start increasing the reach of government.
Would you consider it discrimination if a public institution had a self-induced quota?
It is discrimination, but discrimination is not always negative.
Do you think it should be illegal?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to...
You know this about me, I think, already.
No, not this particular
because this is the thing about with quotas. I wish they didn't exist. I don't like it generally, but in the society that we live, I ask people to tell me how else we can make it happen. If someone can give me... And I think the last time we talked about this, I used the example of short people because I was trying to use something that you were familiar with.
Ouch.
No, but I was saying to you...
I'm not short, I'm medium-sized.
Well, okay. but the example I gave to you is like, if for a long time in our society, people didn't give opportunities to short people, and short people who went to school were not allowed to go to every university, there was a limitation of the resources that short people's schools had. There was a limitation of like access to libraries, access to computers and information that could help them. Then suddenly we decide, okay, we're going to take away all this limitation. We're going to take away all these things for short people, and short people are welcome to our society. However, we don't say that tall people have to take a pause and wait for short people to come and catch up to tall people. We have to create a way to push short people up until we actually see statistically, that's why we do surveys, until we actually see that there is enough change that it makes it in our culture. It takes thousands of years, honestly, in my opinion. It would take thousands of years. I don't see how it is possible in my lifetime to actually come to that place. Because when you say culture, you're expecting that most people, I guess, not everybody, most people's minds have changed, but that's not how it works. If we leave it up to an admission board or a hiring board, there are a lot of people who have biases. And those biases will come into play when they're hired.
Well, I've never said that culture has 100% changed. I think culture, yes, it takes generations. Might not be within your lifetime. It might be unfair, but culture does change. Well, regarding quotas, I agree that I actually support quotas immediately after this radical transition, like slavery, for instance, abolition of slavery.
We're still not that far from these radical transitions. We're not far. Well, it's not up to 100 years in most countries. It really isn't. And it's not, I don't think, what is a full generation? 70-something? 75? 20s? I mean a full lifespan, sorry. Of
our lifespan?
Lifespan, yes.
I mean, the average is 80 in
It's
developed
not,
countries.
so a lot of people who were alive during this, what is happening with your throat
It's
right
fine
now?
already.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've stabilized it.
Are you sure? A lot of people who were alive in those eras are still alive now. So it's not that long after this radical change.
Sure. So let's say, so do you want to keep quotas until all of the minority groups are proportionally represented everywhere, or do we need to stop it somewhere halfway?
Not all. Well, when all groups, not just minority groups, but all groups are proportionally represented in a society.
Yes.
Yes.
So I support quotas, but I think we should stop halfway, or even like at 3%.
So it's not. You're not. What are you supporting it for at all? Because in that sense, you want to always keep some people down.
No, I wanted to give this initial push, but because there are downsides of quotas, at some point the downsides are overcome pros of quotas.
What is the downside of quota?
Division. Based
Division.
on,
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Except division. What is the downside of quota? Tell me another one.
I also think that meritocracy, based on intrinsic values, it does.
Yeah, but we don't live in a society where meritocracy just really can work in full.
I mean, no. Well, hold on. We can have either fully meritocratic system.
Are we talking just? We cannot have a partly meritocratic system. We can try to involve like meritocratic principles in some parts of our society, but we cannot go like meritocracy up till this point.
So look, we can have either meritocracy all the way, or we can have DI over meritocracy, right?
That's not the only two options.
No, they're not the only two options, but at any point we can choose, right? And meritocracy, sure, it's never gonna be full, but you can choose based on which values you set your society, set the system to distribute power and resources and influence.
In my only disadvantage of quotas is the division. But honestly, I think that the division can be useful for society to have some kind of look at itself and understand what is the division about. If you have a group of men, which is a lot of people against feminism, a lot of men against feminism consider that something is being taken away from them. That is a problem. And in my opinion, that is a problem that has just come from the misunderstanding of what a feminism movement is. So when there is that division, between men and women, when there are men who hate feminism because they think it takes away from them, which is what a lot of people who hate quotas believe. They believe that woman or a black person or indigenous person getting into university is stealing space from somebody who was more qualified. Am I wrong? Is that not where the root of the division is?
This is actually what I agree with.
Yes, so that's what many people think, and that is
with quotas specifically.
Yeah, with quotas.
Not feminism. No, like if women get rights.
Yeah, no, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people think.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I allow it.
They appreciate your permission. People think that something is being taken away, right? And this is the division that.
Okay.
This is where the division.
But do you agree that this is actually what happens?
No, I don't agree that that's what happens. I agree that space is made for another person. Because if I don't... No, I'm sorry. If we have a list of... I just think that you don't have what is not yours. That's it.
Look, there are 100 places in a university in a class. Then if you just have a fully meritocratic system, just based on the test, you get in. If you apply quotas, you don't get in.
See, what you're doing is, this is what you're thinking, is that first they take the 100 people, then they cut off the 20, like let's say they have 10% of people must be black. So what you're thinking is that they take the 100 people, then they look, oh no, it's not up to 10%, so we're going to cut off some white people. That's not what's happening. They're just analyzing this and they go, okay, we need to make sure that at least 10% is black, not just 10%, right? So they are looking at this, for example, they look at the amount of black people who have qualified for this thing, and then they try to get to their quota, and then they include the entire list. So they're not taking away from somebody who didn't have a position. So it's not like they put a list and they go, okay, now you're out because this person must come in. That's not what's happening.
That's what it happens.
That is not what's happening.
No, it's basically, people you explain it in different words, but this is exactly the same thing.
No, that is not the same thing. You don't have a space that hasn't been awarded to you, because what happens is they have this 10% already, and then they fill in the rest of the 90%. So you just didn't have a space. You were not kicked out.
But you have 100 spaces, and then you decide to say, okay, 10 spaces are actually for these people. And you say that, okay,
you have 100
these are
spaces.
not your spaces
just
anymore.
Say you have 100 spaces and you have a mark that you're looking for. And you want to get like the people within 90 to 100%. You have a quota to meet for black people, for women, for different races, whatever. You go into this top percentile of results and you take out your quota first. You don't take out everybody and then remove people to make space for the quota. You take out your quota first and then you fill in the rest of the spaces.
How's it different? You just change the actions.
Look, there is the difference.
No,
here is the difference.
Okay, let me ask. I'll ask you a question.
Let's use that. I want to make sure.
Is 2 plus 3 different from 3 plus 2?
That's a totally different thing.
This is the same thing. You just change the sequence of actions.
Look what you made me do.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Oh gosh, we have little time. Okay. So this is what you do. There are 10 people outside waiting, maybe just 10 people outside waiting for a job. I don't know how many of them are black. I don't know how many of them are white or gray or whatever. I have to fill up, I have to make sure that 2 spaces, let's say I have to make sure that in my admission, at least 4 spaces, let's use 4 because I just think it's a better number. 4 spaces are, I don't want to use black, it's just too close, are
Asian.
Okay. I want to make sure that 4 spaces are Asian. What you are saying is this. I call in all the 10 people and I have to fill up. Oh no, that's bad. Hold on. There are 10 people I have to fill up.
Jesus Christ.
Hold on, chill. There are 10 people. I'm not good with numbers. There are 10 people and I have to fill up 5 spaces. Okay, let's do that. 5 spaces. And I have to make sure that 2 of them, at least 2 of them are Asian. Right. What you are saying is I call in all the 10 people to the room and then I go, okay, these people are like, all of you are qualified. All these 5 of you are more qualified, but there is only 1 Asian in the group. So you, goodbye, Asian, take the space. That's what you're saying, right?
Look,
just answer me.
For me, it doesn't matter.
Is that what you're saying? Yes. But here is what I'm saying. Here's what happens though. Is this, there are 10 people outside. I need to fill 5 spaces
first and then you call everyone else.
That is what happens. So you're not taking away space from someone that didn't have it.
The thing is that for me, the question is, would they have had it if it wasn't for quotas? They would have had it.
I don't think so. Maybe.
What do you mean?
Maybe they would have had it. Why do you think they would have had it? There are so many people who are applying.
Well, yes.
And a lot of times, if we're talking about universities, the applications don't only depend on scores, by the way.
But I want
even job applications.
Well, we have to simplify. Of course, they have like different scoring systems.
Okay,
but
even if they would have had it, it's still not their position.
But that's, I
so
think
you are
it's
not
fair
taking
to say
anything
that
away from
you
them.
You don't get it specifically because of quotas. Let's put it this way: you do not get the position because of quotas.
You don't have a right to a position that isn't yours.
It's no one's in the first place.
Exactamente.
But
so
it's fair for a person to say that I didn't get this position because of quotas.
That's not the statement. The statement is that it was stolen from you because of quotas. Okay, that is the division. That's where we started from. I
softened the position but it's fair to say that I didn't get the position
because you didn't fill in the requirement.
Yeah, but
we should round
another thing. Would you agree that this
was more heated
implies
than I expected it.
Collective responsibility? Because you did not get this position because you belong to a certain race or a certain gender. So you are responsible for your entire group, not based on your individual contribution to racism or whatever. You are judged based on this entire group. This is collective responsibility.
When you're thinking of DEI, you should be thinking of a positive movement, not a negative. DEI is not backward. It's not both.
Sometimes it's zero-sum game. When you have 100 positions, if someone gets a position, you have one less position to get.
You do know that DEI is not actually, first of all, DEI is not looking for as many like people of minorities to put in positions. DEI is expanding, as far as I understand DEI policies, is expanding the way to get minorities in these positions, expanding how you can actually make space for minorities. It's not just going around and picking minorities, because this is a problem with understanding DEI, is that when somebody sees a minority person in a position, they question the person's qualification because people demonize what DEI is. To answer your question about collective responsibility, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I'm serious. Why are you responsible for? Why are you responsible for instead of an individual? I'm confused.
Because you're judged based on the color of your skin, of your race, of on the group you belong to. You do not get certain privileges or compensation for the lack of privileges based on you belonging to a group.
You understand that you cannot not belong to this group.
Sure, you belong to it, but you're judged based on belonging to a group.
No, you're not judged.
Collective
DI
responsibility.
is not ignoring your qualification. You're not judged based on you're given a privilege based on your group. It's your qualification is still in play. This is a big problem. This is actually something you should really point out, because that's how you have people going, every person of color, every woman is just unqualified.
I don't know where you're getting it from what I'm saying. I've never said that.
No, because what you're saying is that you are judged based on your race. But no, you are given a privilege based on your race. You're not judged based on your race. Your qualification is still put into account.
I agree that most people are still qualified, because the difference really that much.
People are not given jobs they're not qualified for. What are you talking about?
No, I agree that because meritocratic principle, as we said, it's still there.
It's still at play. So it's not that people are not given
DI.
jobs that they are.
I agree that
most people? People are not given jobs that they are not qualified for.
I mean, come on.
This is a problem.
Even without DI, people are given jobs.
Yeah, no, but we're talking under the scope of DI. And if you say that, then you make it seem like there are some people who are just like hunting black people or women and putting them in positions.
You're saying that doesn't happen at all?
That is not what's happening.
There is no tokenism.
Under DI, that's not what the policy is. I'm not talking about what individuals do. That's different, but that's not what DI is aiming for.
No, I mean, of course.
That's why I said I'm pro an audit on even DI policies. Okay. This got more heated than I expected.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. I actually agree that in the government, I'm fine with quotas, to be honest. Government is fine.
I just generally in private companies, I don't really think that the government should have any. I think private companies can decide, and I would applaud a private company that decides to follow the image of the society that they live in, if their society is, if it's going in progressive image, as I am. However, I don't pass some kind of judgment, too much judgment on a company that doesn't have DI policies.
In Europe, I think they make it obligatory to have a certain number of women on the board.
There is something in film industries, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a thing where there must be a woman in every there's a thing
in every movie.
No, there's different roles. There must be a woman in different roles of this movies and stuff.
But if you only have one person,
I just don't remember what it is, but it's it's called, I remember the name, but I can't remember. I don't remember the name, sorry, in the film industry. Anyway.
But also there are some countries in the parliament. This is also something that I do not support. I think I agree with quotas when the percentage of women in the parliament is way too low. I checked in Ukraine, I think after the dissolution of USSR.
Bechdel test. It's called the Alison Bechdel test. So you must have at least two women, women's representation in film. To pass, a film must have at least two women in it who talk to each other about something besides a man. I was so off.
I remember it. That's like acting within the plot.
Yeah, within the plot. But I think it extends to crew as well. I'm just not sure what it is, because I've heard someone talk about having a woman on every crew.
But anyway, in the parliament, actually, I would support quotas, but to a certain extent. So right now, I know that in some, at least in Scandinavia,
I don't support quotas in the parliament. Elected individuals?
Elected, yes.
Oh, I don't support quotas for elected individuals.
But if it is the percentage of women is way too low. After the dissolution of USSR, it was 2%, I think.
Elected, voted by people?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Here I support quotas and you don't.
No, I don't, because it is, I think that I support kind of stimulating a community to vote for other people. However, you cannot be your district must bring a woman as the candidate.
District, like a party. Usually the most common thing I think is also for a party to nominate a certain percentage of women.
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Women should want to be part of it.
Women can do whatever they want.
No, and then they participate in it. If they win, they win. If there's a voting process, if they win, they win. If they don't, then you live in a sexist society. You try to change it and you hope for a better result.
Wow.
I think Kamala lost not mostly, but in large part because of sexism. However, it would be crazy to say the Democratic Party must nominate at least one woman on the ticket.
I think in a lot of Scandinavian countries, they do have, and it's quite high. It's like
appointed
40%.
positions. I have a different belief, but elected positions, I think it must not be.
I would be fine, but for me, again, this is like this initial push. For me, it's all about getting these. Like the worst thing is when you don't have any role models, when it's just not a thing. When you hear the word doctor and you think of a man.
How can a woman be a doctor?
Exactly.
Serious question.
But like once you get past that,
words?
When you get past that, immediate association for most people, that's when kind of the initial stage for quotas. I think this is where the job of quotas is done for me.
I just think in different parts of the society, I think there's some parts of society I can agree with you, like in political appointments. However, when it comes to education, I don't agree with you. I think until there is a proportional representation of the people going through education in this community, then you can stop quota.
Okay, we disagree here.
Okay. How long is this one?
Oh,
it's been long.
70 minutes.
Yeah. I have a personal attack that I was going to make, but I'm not going to do it because I'm the better person.
Because we don't have time.
No, because I'm a better person.
Because you learned your lesson.
When?
I shamed you for personal attacks because it's irrational.
When did you shame me for personal attacks?
Oh, a couple of times.
When have I made a personal attack on you? When? Give me an example.
Off record.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Well,
search.
Yeah, because I don't do that.
You do.
No, I don't.
Well, a personal attack is whenever you say, you think this way because of your.
That's not a personal attack. It's me
because
pointing out what it is.
You don't respond to the argument. You respond about
No, but I'm pointing out to you. It doesn't change I still respond to your argument. However, do I not respond to your argument when I say those things? I still respond to your argument. However, I'm pointing out to you, and I think it's necessary to point out to you why I suppose you have that. It's not a personal attack. Because it's not an attack. It's me just telling you why I suppose you're the one who's taking it as an attack. I'm not attacking you. It's not a judgment
here,
thing.
Not necessarily.
It's just me pointing out to you. And am I wrong?
But you switch.
Am I wrong about this?
But I don't remember.
I know. I have one. Let's off the record. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I enjoyed it.
I occasionally enjoyed it.
You're an idiot.